Hey everybody, just Jesse here. Welcome to my little man cave, my garage. Today is March 30th. It's a Monday. Monday fun day, right? It's in 2020, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about worry, but God had other plans, and He talked to me about Philippians 2. And in Philippians 2, there's a guy called Epaphroditus. Biblically, he's a nobody. Scripturally, he never wrote a book in the Bible. He isn't even mentioned anywhere else in the Bible. Nobody ever made a statue of him, and he wasn't famous for any accomplishments. But Paul called him a hero, and he used 5 terms to describe him. Paul describes him as a brother, a co-worker, a fellow soldier, a messenger, and a caregiver. And we're going to look at that a little bit today. Epaphroditus made 4 choices that allowed him to give his best. The first choice that he made was that he was a people lover. Paul called him a caregiver. And verse 26 says that he longed for them, for the people of Philippi. He was sick, and that afflicted him. And he was more worried about the Philippians and what they were worried about in him. Like he was sick nearly to death. And with that is a question that I have to ask. And that's, do you long for people? Like, do I long for people? Do I care enough about people that I worry about them more than I worry about myself? The second thing that Paul calls Epaphroditus is a risk-taker. Paul called him a fellow soldier, which he risked his own life in the name of Christ, verse 30 says. And so a little expansion on Epaphroditus. This man ran from Philippi to Rome to meet Paul. And during that journey he was running over there, he almost died for the cause. So the question I ask here is, do you play it safe? The third thing that Paul calls Epaphroditus, he calls him a tireless worker. That word was used in Matthew 9:37 when it was talking about working in the fields of gathering people for the cause of Christ, which is rare in itself. We know that Epaphroditus was sick because of how much work he was doing for the kingdom of Christ. And that's amazing to think that somebody would work themselves nearly to death for any cause, let alone one that is so noble as for Christ. So that question that I'm asking here is, do you work tirelessly, or do I work tirelessly? He was also a servant leader, and that's the fourth thing that Paul called him. Paul called him a caregiver and a messenger, a servant who is a leader. He was a pioneer, and he did the work that nobody else wanted to. Paul was said to hold him in such high regard. He really just respected Epaphroditus. So the question that I have here for you and for myself is, do you lead in the way do you lead the way in some areas of service, and do you excel? All of those that I ask myself, I also ask you to ask yourself. Do you long for people? Do you play it safe? Do you work tirelessly? And do you lead the way in some areas of service? And do you excel in that? Epaphroditus may never have been somebody that is going to have a lot of glory in the Bible, but we all need to strive to be just like Epaphroditus. somebody that is just so in tune with God, that he longs for people. He takes risks. For Jesus, he is a tireless worker. He never stops working for Christ. And he's a servant leader. We need to serve to be a leader. So all of those things would show you offering your very best every day. And all those things need to be things that we think about every day. Thank you guys for joining me in my little garage here. I hope you have a great day. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about it if you think that they could get any addition from this.